Hello, and welcome to the WeArePoWEr Podcast. If this is your first time here, the WeArePoWEr Podcast is the podcast for you, your career, and your life. We release an episode every single Monday with listeners in over 60 countries worldwide, where you'll hear personal life stories, top-notch industry advice, and key leadership insight from amazing role models. As WeArePoWEr is the umbrella brand to Northern Power Women Awards, which celebrates hundreds of female role models and advocates every year. This is where you can hear stories from all of our awards alumni and stay up to date with everything MPW Awards and WeArePoWEr. Well, hello and welcome to the pod. This week, I am delighted to be joined by CEO, founder of Vivify. Vivify Group?
Vivify Venues.
Vivify everything. Yeah. Russell Teale, welcome to the podcast.
Thank
you for joining us.
No, thank you. It's a
Now,
pleasure.
we are going to get to know you over the next period of time. Is it 3 days? No. But can you tell us in 3 words? Can you describe what you do?
In 3 words, it's literally all about community, generating income and just giving people an opportunity. That's exactly what it is that we do.
Now, I first came across you, Russell, and I was at one of it was a Christmas event. It was one of the first Christmas events of the season at the end of last year. It was Louise Stevenson event, and you were on the panel. And you were talking about founding your business, which you founded during lockdown, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Looking back now, it was a really ridiculous thing to do. Or was it? I don't know. But no.
Clearly not. You're on the podcast.
No, exactly. So, no, I was, like many people, made redundant during lockdown and faced with a bit of a dilemma, really, in terms of I'd experienced, a similar company to what's similar to what we do now, but felt that sort of, do I do something? Do I not? And rightly or wrongly took that risk at the time to say, do you know what? There's an opportunity here to do something slightly different. So Vivify, was born out of that, where myself, Andy and Elaine as the co-founders just felt compelled really to create something that could do something great in communities, could look after people, but also, thankfully now with the future in mind as to like what was going to happen with leisure, what was going to happen with schools. So yeah, that was how Vivify was born, rightly or wrongly at the time. It felt wrong, I can assure you, but now, with real pride.
And what was, because there's a lot going on during COVID, you clearly weren't making, learning Japanese or, making soda bread. So what was that kind of moment? And clearly, of course, you're in a dilemma, right? Probably a bit stressed. The world's all a bit crazy. You've been made redundant. What are you going to do to keep the lights on? What was the defining moment that went, I'm going to do this? Yeah,
and do you know what? I think for me, I can't picture one particular moment, but if I think to the person who I am and who I've always been, I've always backed myself. I've always had that sort of inner confidence to think, well, if I feel like it's the right thing to do, and it's values-based and it's purpose-driven, then I'm just going to do it. And like I say, there was times along the last 5 years where that got questioned by myself. But I just felt right. It felt like the right thing to do. It felt like a risk that I was willing to take. But yeah, sat here 5 years on, it was definitely the right thing to do. But, back then it was, yeah.
And were you a first-time founder?
I'd tried before. So I was at Total Fitness for 10 years. I'd spent 20 years in the sector of leisure. Did a fitness tech startup and it failed really. I ran out of money. I felt that pressure. We just had my first daughter. And yeah, at that time it was like, oh, right. And that's when actually I met Louise Stevenson.
Yeah.
It's the second time I founded a business. So a lot of mistakes learned. But hopefully applied in the right way this time.
But there's the whole ethos is not about failing or making mistakes. That's what teaches you, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what makes you better. What did you learn from that first time from the tech startup?
I think it was a case of, I think the way I looked at it was very sort of almost I was on the receiving end. I was a victim. It was like, well, why is no one listening to us? And actually it was a very sort of, you go to all the different founder events that there are in Manchester. It's an amazing tech community. And I just felt like, well, no one's listening. And it was very sort of about me and about, well, why is nobody believing? And I think what I learned from that was actually, it's not about that, and with Vivify, and it's back to what it's about. It's not about me. And if there's a genuine problem that needs solving and we do it in a certain way, then, chances are it will succeed.
You're like the A-Team.
Literally, exactly. So
I can feel a rebrand coming on. No credit needed. It's all good. So you talk about you've always backed yourself. But again, I go back to that event because I knew I wanted to interview you when I saw you on that stage. I loved your passion. But you talked about your wife and the fact that people around you were going, get a job. And she was like, I'm backing you.
Yeah. And I think on the panel, it was the same on the day. I felt emotional talking about it. Yeah, she had every right at that moment in time. We'd done the first year salary free. I had a young family, literally 2.5 and 6 months old.
Wow.
My wife, prior to COVID, had started to freelance. She'd been in PR for, 14, 15 years. And once the business didn't go as quickly as we expected it to do, everyone writes the business plan and it never goes the way you want it to, does it? So no, it was getting slow. We were getting that pressure from family to get a real job. And then, when those moments came where I looked her in the eye and said, should I? It was no, absolutely not. You should, stick to your guns. If you really believe it, as a family, we'll back you, which at the time obviously was great. But I think looking back now, it was pivotal.
Yeah.
Because it could have gone a very, very different way. So I'll be eternally grateful for her for that.
Well, high five, Jen.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talk about advocacy a lot. We're real passionates about collecting the good guys. And actually this time Jen turned out to come with the cape and be your advocate. It's important, right? Isn't it? Advocacy and support.
Yeah, I think there's been a few key people along the way. Richard, who's my chairman's exactly the same. But at home, we all know what it's like. You need that person who is going to back you in the most toughest of times. And trust me, it's not just that occasion. There's been many where, she's been massively part of it.
And you've talked about, you've worked in total fitness and the world of leisure industry for around 20 years, sort of in the job, so to speak. But at what point during that career adventure, if you like, did you think there's something missing here? At what point? What was that, that sort of led you on to the first tech startup, and then ultimately the seed was sown, I suppose, for Vivify venues, right?
Yeah, I think, I am your typical gym goer. We're in January, we're literally in the throes of it now. So I think for me, it was spending 10 years at Total Fitness and seeing that same cyclical nature of I join a gym, I cancel a gym. Exactly. I don't go in February. I've signed a 12-month contract. What have I done? And I think for me, I'm a lad from Wythenshawe. I've seen firsthand communities at their best and also at their worst, at their toughest. And I think for me, having that first level of exposure to seeing schools and actually it genuinely touching every corner of communities. And, I've seen it now in Vivify. I think that was the moment that it just felt that there was something bigger, something that was less scary than gyms, something where people could genuinely come and, whether it's go to their choir group, whether it's actually go to their junior football club, if it's dance, if it's drama, it's something that actually means more and can actually reach a lot further into communities. And that's really at the heart of what Vivify is and what it stands for. So that's the moment for me when I started to see that there was something wider than just gyms and health clubs. I think that's what it was. So
are they physical? Is Vivify venues, just explain to sort of our viewers and listeners, is it physical? Is it pop-up? Is it, how does it work?
So, yeah.
I'm fascinated for myself. I'm inherently nosy, as everyone knows.
No, so, ultimately, there are 27,000 schools in the UK already in the hearts of communities with amazing facilities. But come 3:00, kids go home, parents pick the kids up. The facilities are just sat there. So Vivify existed to help get those gates open. They've got sports halls, they've got gymnasiums, classrooms, halls, theatre, drama. They are literally ready-made for communities to access. But, for no fault of the schools, they find themselves in the biggest challenge they've ever faced ever. Billions of pounds worth of funding gaps. So Vivify exists to get those schools open through software, through people, through marketing, just trying to spread the word to local communities that if you're going to play badminton, it doesn't always have to be at your leisure centre. You can do it at your school.
Oh, wow. So, and equally, that's a revenue opportunity for the school as well. So it's impacting that whole piece. So, and at what point did you realise, you're the Wythenshawe lad, right? At what point did you realise that you've started local, but this could go big or go home, right?
Yeah. I think, I'd seen similar businesses do something similar, and ultimately it doesn't matter where the school is. So randomly, my first ever school for Vivify was in Enfield.
Oh, wow.
I know, of all places. So we were obviously, just sending out countless emails to schools during lockdown to see whether or not there was an appetite for them to consider it when it reopened. And I was sat at my wife's makeup table upstairs in lockdown, perched on the edge of the bed, sending emails. And she always describes it as just this massive cheer scream coming from upstairs. She legs it upstairs thinking, what is going on? And it was the first school saying yes to us. Judith Hunt, still a customer today. I'll never forget her. And she was the one, along with Celeste, the head teacher, that said yes.
Who had the faith.
Yeah.
Who had the belief.
Which was just, unbelievable.
Now, you talked about you're a co-founder, not a solo founder. What's the sort of the advantages of having that co-founder group and the toughest challenges that you've faced together, I suppose?
Yeah, I think, having now met lots of founders and solo founders, I think that loneliness, I have experienced it. The two co-founders are no longer with Vivify. So I've experienced it, but not necessarily at the very start. So the benefits were always the fact that we had each other.
Yeah.
At the end of a tough day, we did the first year salary free, like I said. So those challenges, or if you were struggling, there was always someone to go to. Whereas I think as a solo founder, that must be immensely difficult. So having a network around you is so key. I think just having that was massive.
And that helps you overcome any of those early challenges, I suppose, it's the power of three, right?
Definitely. And, we had very different skills and experience. Elaine was marketing, Andy was finance, now with more operations. So actually, it was very complementary in that sense.
Now, you've talked openly about your mum's career in public service. And what's something that you learned from watching her work / graft, I would imagine, that still shapes how you lead today, Russell?
Yeah. So, she was a single parent, looked after me. I could tell you a million examples of whether it was walking home from Quick Save in Northenden with, 9 shopping bags tearing into her fingers with me in tow as well, crossing several main roads, or the 3 jobs she had. So for me growing up, I suppose now I can look back on it and think, oh, wow, that was a work ethic.
Yeah.
That was what it was like to struggle to survive. I've told stories in the past of ice on the inside of the windows because we didn't have central heating and the gas fire was condemned and all that. So for me, what I learned from my mum before she passed away was that it was just like that's resilience. That's hard, so therefore, when you think about what we face today, that's not hard. That's hard.
And what would mum say to you now? What advice would she be giving to you right now at this stage? Don't go on Chris Maguire's Naked podcast. Sorry, Chris.
Clothes at least. No. Do you know what? And I think I spoke about this on the day as well at Louise's event. It's about ego and humility. That's what my mum has taught me from a very, very young age. Is that it is about that. It's rooted in just the fact that there is no ego. It is about the business and the outcomes and everything else. And she'd never let me ever even entertain an element of it. She's an absolute, yes. And
stow that, Russell.
Exactly. I would get a clip round the ear all for sure.
And you talk about profit and purpose reinforcing each other. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think again, I've seen, like I say, all my life, my mum founded her own charity and, it wasn't sustainable because it was always reliant on, going out for funding and you'd get some and you'd be able to deliver your outcomes and your service and it would dry up. So I think I made a very conscious decision with Vivify right at the very start that it needed some investment. We needed to create a sustainable business that could be profitable so it can, survive. So the way our business model works is the income that's generated from the schools means that we generate 3 or 4 jobs to open and close the school. That money then, enables those jobs to take place. They open up the school, means we can do it. So it's a nice sort of circular economy locally. So we create that. So for me, the profit is really, really important. But I'll be honest, working in schools and communities, it jars. They can't, sometimes it's almost like, is it dirty?
There's a catch.
Yeah. But actually, it's not about that. It's genuinely just about creating that sustainable model. So the real test and success will it be in 100 years? That's the real challenge. So for me, the profit and purpose, they go hand in hand.
And staying with purpose, you say purpose without execution is just intention.
Yeah. I mean, my team laugh at me. I have so many terrible sayings and analogies.
You should come into our office. In fact, we should hang out. It'd be, oh my life, what would happen?
But that's it for me. I think it's rooted in where I'm from and who I am. the thing that really frustrates me in life and things is just when we don't take action, when we don't do things. And if we genuinely mean it and purpose means something to us, then we've all got an intention to do something. But actually, if we just take some action and you mix that with ambition, then that's where I think, genuine problems can be solved.
And you've talked about investment, and you have secured a significant amount of investment so far. And I think that is, what advice would you give? Because for organisations at times, it can be a tricky time, how to scale, where to scale, especially a social impact business like yourself. What top tips would you give out there? Because it's a little bit different than securing a business from a more traditional startup, isn't it, when it's social impact?
Yeah, I think for us, it was about, finding the right people, the people that have got an intrinsic value that want to do it. So one of our investors is Sir Terry Lee, who's the former chief executive of Tesco. He's obviously from Liverpool as well. So I think...
The Scousers get everywhere, right?
I know, exactly. And, Simon Lord and Mike Fletcher. So, it's people from the North who are really passionate about the North. Arete have set up their own foundation. So for them, the decision, they invested in the company in lockdown. We weren't going to make any money. We didn't have contracts. The software was still being built. So, really they invested in Vivify because they had just as much belief in the social value and the purpose as I did. And that alignment from day one has been so key to the success of it. So I think for anyone that's looking for investment, it's looking for those people that do align to whether it's your value set or whether it's the business or the problem you're trying to solve.
But then that's okay, I think, to build a relationship. It's then untapping the money, I think. That's sometimes the hard thing. Yeah. You can be aligned and people can buy in to the enthusiasm and the value and the vision, but it's sometimes, is it something as simple as having a really clear ask?
Yeah, I think it's that. And it links back to the question you asked before about, why did the first one fail? We kept on hearing this word of what traction have you got? And I was like, if I hear that word traction one more time, it's, it's so frustrating. But equally, it's true. At the end of the day, if people are going to give you money, unless it's a donation or if it's a charity, then that's a little bit different. But if it's actually an investment into your business, then, having that real world understanding that they are going to expect a return on it. They want to see it invested in a certain area. So having that sort of knowledge of, now the responsibility, it's almost like you're craving it and you want to, get that investment, but then you think, oh my God, I've got it now. I've actually got to do something. And, that's that balance between the two.
And what have you learnt most about the business, Vivify, venues, the sector, and most importantly, yourself? 3-part question. It's a bit tough, this.
In terms of Vivify, what have I learned? I think I've, that sort of running a business, finding a business from scratch feels like it was really hard. But actually what I've learned over the years is as the business is now scaling, it's got 500 employees, it's, it's just evolving. And therefore how we've done things, how we've always done things, you have to refresh them constantly. And I've found that job really difficult in the sense of when you're a founder, you're doing the selling yourself, you're operating yourself. Now, all of a sudden you've got 500 people, your role changes. And, without having those moments and seeing those phase changes, I think that's difficult. In terms of the sector, I've come from Total Fitness, private equity backed, it's a direct to consumer, it's very commercial. Suddenly dealing with schools was an absolute whoa, public sector, they're not commercial in the sense of the same way private sector are. So that was a very steep cultural learning curve without a shadow of a doubt, but immensely rewarding, in terms of, we've sent millions of pounds back to schools now. So to see the impact, wow. It does sort of give you that sort of energy to keep going.
And yourself.
And then myself, I think it's literally, what I said before, it's that what was required of me in the first few months and years of the business is very, very different to what it is now. And I'm a passionate person. I'm a very emotional person. It means a lot to me. But therefore, I think what I've learned the hardest is people can hang on that and take what you say literally. And sometimes that's really positive. If you're trying to energize and inspire, that's great. But when you're then trying to shape and steer and give people the tools, it's not always helpful. And that's what I've learned.
And that's what it's almost like, is there anything you've had to let go of, out of your belief system to be a better leader and owner of the business? It's that.
Definitely, 100%. And it's the hardest.
That is hard, isn't it? How do you manage that? Jen!
Yeah, mixture of, speaking to Jen, but, Richard is my chairman, is phenomenal. He's been, you know, like I say, if you're writing down the kind of top 3 people that you've either worked with or you've learned a lot from, you know, he's massively important for that. We catch up every Tuesday without fail. And I think having that soundboard, sometimes it's just a emotional release of just getting stuff off your chest and stuff that you're saving up. But yeah, the honest answer is I don't always get it right. I think, you know, you want to be that inspirational leader. And then at times when the metrics aren't there or things aren't happening, sometimes it's really hard just to not turn back into that founder who was, you know, always striving, and actually empower the team you've got around you.
And thinking about sort of legacy and long term, what does leaving things better than you found them mean in practice or practical terms for Vivify?
I think for me I've got a firm passion and belief that is what it's got to be about. You know, those people are still exercising, those people are still seeing their friends and family. You know, we've got choir groups who've got amazing stories of people that have lost their partners in the 70s and they've been in their house for 2 years. Now they're coming out and they're going to choir 3 times a week. They're doing sing outs. It's changed their lives. And for me, that is what it's about.
Social impact, right?
It's that.
You know, social value. We talk a lot about social value and the social value that is created when you don't even realise that you're doing it. But it's that. It's a human factor. Always the human factor, isn't it?
100%. And that is genuinely that's what gets you out of bed in the morning.
So we're back on the podcast in 5 years' time. What are we raising our WeArePoWEr cups of herbal tea to?
I think for me, the beauty of what it is that we're trying to do is it just can't stop. So it's got to keep going now. You know, we're not even in 5% of the schools in the UK. Wow. So there's so much to go at. So in 5 years' time, for me, it's about how far reaching are we? Are we touching every corner? You know, on the way in today, I was chatting to our team about there's some schools at the minute that we're probably not able to help, and that's so frustrating because we should be. So in 5 years' time, I'd like to think that there isn't a school in the UK and beyond that we can't touch, and therefore support them and, you know, get to those communities.
And do you see yourselves as an advocate? Because I see you as a really strong role model, passionate about giving back and being an advocate for society, for community, for gender equality.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You know, for me personally, you know, I've grown up with, it's almost a level playing field in the sense that it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, where you're from. You know, I would get a bag full of clothes from my mum's friend who called me Auntie Stella as an example, you know, and vice versa. We'd be swapping. So for me, everyone, it's crazy to think otherwise. So, and I've had such strong female role models in my life with my mum, with my Auntie Stella, with my mum's sisters, that it's been instilled into me. So it's, yeah, weirdly, it doesn't feel any different now. And then even in business, you know, I've got phenomenal people. As I said, Louise Stevenson before, who's been a huge advocate for me. So absolutely. I think it'd be absolutely crazy to not be. And
one thing I've found out about you is that you can play almost any tune by flicking your cheek.
Right, okay.
Okay.
I'm really regretting
that
sharing that.
I think you might want to. It's okay. But so how on earth did you find out that you could do that?
I have no idea. I think, obviously, I'd love to say, well, it was in lockdown and I was really bored, but it wasn't even then. I don't even know. But my daughters do get me maybe happy birthday, things like that. And then Alice also is trying to learn it. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, gosh, you're going to pass it down through the family.
Definitely.
Wow. Britain's Got Talent, here we come. And obviously the most important thing, I'm not going to put you on the spot just while you're sort of gripping the chair. But, you know, do you have a go-to tune?
That's for it.
Yeah.
It's always happy birthday. It's just the easiest to do.
Oh, okay. Okay. And because it's a fleet, that translates into different language. Feliz Navidad. I know that's Happy Christmas, isn't it? Feliz Cumpleaños. I'm rubbish anyway. But finally, almost finally, Russell, if you had a magic wand and you could book any venue, any facility for your community to use, friends, family, colleagues, for any activity, what would it be?
Wow.
And why?
I don't know.
Phone a friend?
As a football fan, you know, and I don't say this in Liverpool, but it would, you know, years ago I would have said it'd been Old Trafford because it's the theatre. It's absolutely awful, isn't it? So I don't know. I think, yeah, it'd definitely be maybe Wembley. Football is a massive part of what we do. 40% of all our activities are football related. So yeah, it'd probably be that.
And, football, right? Okay, fair enough. Finally, we're going to delve into the power jar.
Okay.
Okay. What could go wrong, right? one of our brilliant former guests has left a question in there.
Okay.
You delve deep, see what you find.
Let's go for the first one out. No
The
pressure.
tension.
I know.
Tension's always good.
Oh, wow. If you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh.
That is literally burger and chips forever.
Oh.
I don't know why. I've just absolutely
Ketchup?
loved mustard,
Oh.
an arm of pickles, jalapenos, you know.
Oh, so loads of sides.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, liking it.
And I could literally eat that forever. So yeah, brilliant.
Russell, thank you so much for joining us. We can go off a burger with cider pickles now,
Awesome.
if you like. 100%. We'll go and book a big venue. You won't want to go to any of the football grounds in Liverpool, but it's okay. It's okay. Russell, thank you. Love what you're doing. I love the energy. I love the social impact that's being made. It's so needed. And what an easy idea.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for being here.
No, thanks for having me.
Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review or follow us on socials. WeArePoWEr_net on Insta, TikTok and Twitter, or WeArePoWEr on LinkedIn, Facebook, and WeAre_power on YouTube.